Return the white breath to its black body. Return the bullet to its gun. Return the gun to its holster. Return the hand to its side. Return the officer to his car. Return the car to the garage. Return. Return. Return the key to its pocket. Return the pants to the floor. Return the scalding coffee to its pot. Return the hot dark to the night. Return the sound of lovemaking to the room. Return the child's lips to the father's cheek. Return. Return. Return the arrest warrant to the computer. Return the counterfeit $20 bill to its pocket. Return the knee to its straight position. Return the officer's body to the car. Return the car to the garage. Return the gas to the pump. Return the stars to the sky. Return the anger to its pocket. Return. Return. Return the door to its closed position. Return the bells jingle to silence. Return the chokehold from his neck. Return the big man to his home. Return the taser to its holster. Return. Return. Return the bullets from her door. Return their steps to the sidewalk. Return the SWAT team to their vans. Return the vans to the garage. Return the Skittles to the candy aisle. Return the boy to his room. Return the hoodie to its closet. Return. Return. Return the whip to its belt. Return the scars from her back. Return the hand to its side. Return the ships to the sea. Return their bodies to Africa. Return. Return. Return the resources to the land. Return the mothers to their souls. Return their tears to their eyes. Return the jewels to their hair. Return the whisks to their hands. Return. Return. Return the moon to its earth helix. Return the earth to the cosmos. Return the cosmos to the black hole. Return the white breath to its black body. Return. 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 Wow. Thank you, Curtis. Can we give Curtis another round of applause? Thank you. Thank you. I'm so incredibly grateful. And can we give a round of applause to our interpreter? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm incredibly grateful. Thank you for waiting out in the line while we made sure that we had everything tied together for you to give a beautiful presentation. I'm incredibly grateful. Thank you. Welcome to part 2 of When We Dream in Bittersweet Tongues. I have to also thank Darren Klein and Ed. Ed, where are you? Are you around? Yes, Ed. Thank you, Ed, for allowing me to curate this poetry event. Thank you so very much. So tonight I'm introducing this event, this poetry event, through the lens of CRT, critical race theory. Yes. We are at one of the premier art museums in the world, in conjunction with the William Kentridge exhibit, In Praise of Shadows, an exhibit which through its multimedia work explores social justice issues and the historical impact of apartheid on South Africa, yet also explores those intrinsic systems of sanctioned oppression pervasive in public and private spaces, in our consciousness, and sometimes by politicians, I won't name you, politicians who don't want to hear our stories, and most particularly in America, within our educational systems that fail to teach us, fail to see us, fail to show our accomplishments and celebrate our BIPOC narratives. And that's what we are here to do tonight. As a poet and a grandmother and an educator, I posit that they cannot stop critical race theory in our poetry, in our art, in our music, in our museums, in our dance, in our allyships. They cannot stop critical race theory. How many educators do we have in the audience? Yes, it is a choice. Yes, yes. How many public PR publicists do we have in the audience? Do we have any directors of organizations, right? Do we have any parents, any mothers, any grandfathers, any transgender? We are the ones who can teach this to our people, to our kids, to our students at every step. They cannot stop us if we continue to teach and share and celebrate our stories. They cannot stop our fight for things that are true, for justice, the exploration of the inescapable impact of Black enslavement upon America, the impact of multiple removals of indigenous peoples of these lands, especially the impact of Mexicans and Indios families like Cesar Chavez's people. Happy Cesar Chavez yesterday, right? So for those people who were displaced when the California border crossed them. Right. Yes, and for the Japanese who were interned as well, right? So there are so many moments when our narratives are important to continue that journey and to tell those stories. BIPOC people have suffered under these systems for generations, but we are still here. So tonight we will hear three amazing poets speaking truth to disempowerment, speaking life to what some would kill in our imaginations, showing us the power of poetry and the indelible act, the act of language to sustain our peoples, and with this knowing that our memories cannot and will not be erased. So thank you all. You can read the poets' full bios on the Broads website. And with that, I give to you in order of the appearance, the beautiful cultural worker, Jessica Wilson, founder, yes, Jessica, founder and executive director of the Los Angeles Poets Society. After her will be Matt Cuban Hernandez, an incredible wordsmith and a social activist and a cultural activist as well. And then Jessica Kim is a powerful youth poet who was our 2021-2022 Los Angeles Youth Poet Laureate. Forgive me, yes. So I'm excited. So listening to them, you will not leave here the same way you entered. Thank you and enjoy.
Thank you, Shonda, and thank you, the Broad, and everyone. Much, much love to everybody. Such an honor to be here. Being human. Feeling desolate in this space where time meshes into the host of my debt, an uncertain slumber of right, a net of collection. Why does it always come down to money, to raise your hopes, your praises, to make you feel like a good human, a happy human? Justify me this feeling of incompleteness because I don't have enough paper to go around taking away all the hands I owe. Is my life less valuable because I cannot pay someone today? Is my life less valuable because I do not have enough green to pay? Am I deemed to tire tread and sidewalk skid because I came up short? Well, how short of human am I since I have no green to give? Since when did paper inject itself into our veins? Do needles blended into the stream of blood, plasma, capillaries, dust? There is no green in my blood. There is no green in my blood. I am not rich. I am not paper. I'm human. Thank you. Running Somaliland. Land ho! Sticking your arch nose over the border into a boundary you have no roots in. Made to think the land came to you with purpose or intention to become used. Pried open, eaten up, laid out like a virgin, trusting, shy, without fight or means to defend what is hers by right, by life. Your nose is running all over your horse, hurrying its boogers into the land, cultivating filth, plucking out all seeds that existed before. It's a new world, you utter, as your golden hair reflects sunlight, the same light planked over your shield, your sword, which is unsheathed. You call yourself explorer, liberator, someone with a reckoning with God. Liar. Your saliva brings acid, burrows the land like Swiss cheese and rotten seeds. No salvation in the ripping apart of the tide to the lands of Tonatsin, which only holds footprints, not borders. No telling you, stay away from my thighs. No telling you, leave the names of my brothers off your mind. Forget the sounds you stamp out their mouths. No telling you that the land is ripe where it chooses. It is not yours to till, not yours to steal. You framed me and left me in 1,000 pieces. Somaliland, with nothing left to nourish its people. No carne left on the bone for my child to nibble. No act to tend our wounds and unstitch the damage from your divide. You raped us, unsettled always, yet you settled. Clean us out of our own blood. Veins map what was left of our body, looking for new sustenance for you to reap. Thank you so much. I was really feeling William Kentridge. I was like, that is, oh. All right, this next one is 9 films named after his piece. 9 films. They want to take credit for the world we carry, a cause of violence to enslave our minds. The bodies we nourish belong to them. They rip us from our land like rotten leaves, capture us in a net, bring us to their bosom, take us into their pocket where they suffocate us into submission. No breath left to argue, barely open a lip to bring water to the tongue, no parting lips to usher in food, to treat ourselves to a bit of starving need, to keep our souls afloat a bit longer, fasten more air into our lungs to hang on. But they take and take, our backs the linking chain that they rope us with. Like hills that leap over the land, the arch of our bodies makes shade. The darkness that veils insect, vermin, tadpole, or wake. It's our life that follows the next, into the oblivion of conscious neglect. Names erased from historic landmark, monuments of freedom, cherished tradition, ancestral courtesy. A vortex of black and white traps us further. The cage history kept, wrists and barbed wire. Our story moral runs away. It's reflected on the new chain around our wrist that breaks the chance for charity, redemption, conclusion, or perception. They say darkness is evil, so the whiteness will exploit it until it's buried in the true darkness of earth. Oh, Mattel, thank you. I have another piece for you, and this, I want to leave you with the empowerment that we all hold with our breath, with our knowledge, everything that we are that moves us forward. And this is called, My Chicanismo is the Teardrop of Nopal. Thorns of the prickly pear. My Chicanismo is the teardrop of Nopal. Thorns of the prickly pear as they teeter in the stillness of light, balancing steadily from a small root, plucking the flesh, verde duro, saluting the lizards as they peek from below its shade, not a tree in the forest or a blade of soft grass. My Chicanismo comes from mujeres whose hands lay red on the soil, fingers chapped and peeling from the sun's chores, as they braid the essence of the dawn into their hair. Their strands curl one by one into the other, black radiance, like 3 sisters that know they're stronger together to face the day. Families who cook and clean, not for themselves, but for the earth and each other. Heads bow and smile, and pull and chafe. A duty to the other to hold strong, a pillar of the house, united to shelter the other, never divided, never deceived. Mi chicanismo es de un jardín de chiles de árbol, rojos y verdes, colors shining like the golden shell of a fried tortilla, twisted and flattened, ready to hold the diversity of sweet carne sizzling, queso expanding and hugging cilantro's dazzling green. In between the angled faces, cebollitas, crema, and roasted salsa. The joys $1 can bring from the richest taquero, chopping away tender pieces of asada, carnitas, pollo, como ustedes quieren, en la medianoche, shoulders carrying moonlight. This epic portrait of my face, as the sun holds it in, darkens the sides, reflecting the centuries of women whose eyes I show. Mujeres tan fuertes, the strength of their bellies as they held in their line, descendants of desert dreams, alluring and blessing life. Somos la raza. We are the people to overcome the tugging strife that we witness. We pull warm leche from Madre Tierra's umbilical spout. We hear her whistling in the wind's song, a familiar surprise that recaptures our hearts. Corazones beating deeper into the ground, supple with the ocean's mist. The brown of these Chicana eyes beam and retreat into the familiar love of our people. Semillas that share a chuckle, remembering the way our tias made chiles that scorched our tongues with heritage. A bounty of knowing that we're right where we belong, and that it is our right to belong where we are right now. Thank you so much.
That was amazing. Please give her another round of applause. It was beautiful. Wow, so rich, so rich. And now we have Matt Cuban Hernandez.
Good evening, everybody. Can we give another round of applause for that last performer? Couldn't tell if it was the words or the flute. I was really feeling it. I think poetry can be an interactive art form, right? I think it's one of the oldest things that humans have ever done is speak to one another, right? So if you hear something that feels good or moves you, you can snap, you know what I'm saying? Try snapping. If you can't snap, I'll pray for you. You can, if you hear something like my choir over here, you can go, like somebody just handed you a warm box of cookies. You can say, go in, poet, let him use you, what's your Venmo? All those things are nice. It's an honor to be here. I'm gonna share a couple poems with y'all today. In all this brown and black and red and soil, I circle the drain of what I want. I cruise and curve the angels and angles of my own choice. I call it an invitation out of fear of calling it fate. At times, I am both scared and sacred without being able to tell the difference. I curl into a halo. I call my crown a man bun. I curl my fear into a ball and roll it into the corner. I circle back to a childhood that I've ignored until I am a moment impossible to bring back. I circle myself, let ancestors bring me reason. I find it in the gust of grief, and I hear her daily, and I wish that was enough, and at times, I am just a charged controller. I am just a drained spirit. I am fresh food and spoiled patience. I am a friend holding happy like a ticket. I am overbooked calendar. I am anxiety and the stagnation of running late. Or I am way too early and I'm spinning and wishing for a moment to steady. I am a half-drunk cup of coffee. I am a full glass of the snooze button and get away from me. A disheveled living room, a dusty paint, chipped everything, a flickering lights, or more things that need to be fixed. I am the fix. I am the broken. I am glue, and I am so tight. My welds are getting better, and I am so phosphorus that most nights I glow and glow and glow without even trying. I am a fresh cup of coffee, a cool breeze, a hot shower, solid Wi-Fi, fingers crossing hope. What is hope? What is a flower? What is a flower if not in bloom? A fist unable to curl itself out of fear. What is hope? Another breath, ashamed of inspiration and privacy. A small thing I can carry in my palms without crushing. A beginning yet to start. An ending named anything but fear. Thank you. Aww. Can we please give it up for the ASL homies putting in work over here? That's right. They just so beautiful, showed up decked out. I'm like, man, yeah, that's right. You know, tell them. So yeah, you said that to yourself when you came here today. You so beautiful as shit. I don't know if I can say bad words, so I'm not gonna. My name is Matthew Cuban Hernandez. Thanks, man. You guys can find me on all things on your phone under the name Matthew Cuban. It's a lot like Mark Cuban, but less financially successful in life. But I'm so thankful to be here and to be able to share words with y'all, to share company with y'all. You know, the world is it's a wild place, right? And it's been getting wilder every day. I wrote this poem after a poet named Alberto Rios. Alberto wrote this poem called The Border in 1950. I share this poem all the time in classrooms that I work in and teach in, and the words feel eerily still so potent. So this is a poem after his work, also titled The Border. The border is banana-flavored candy. It's licorice. Who likes this shit? That's the only bad word I'm gonna say. We're PG-13, okay? The border is spoiled milk. It's clumpy and sour, calling itself cheese, saying it makes my sandwiches better, calling my PB&J unwelcome and uncultured. It calls from unknown numbers at 7 a.m., says someone is stealing my credit, says I don't have credit with them, says my mother owes them money and they want it from her grave. It calls again at 9 a.m., says it's on East Coast time, says it's on its own time, then calls from different unblocked numbers. The border is pushy, needy, always acting out for attention, always off task or turning in assignments late or not at all. The border's parents came in for a teacher conference the other day. The border's mother is confused, doesn't understand why we make her child out to be such a nuisance. Says at home, around our people, the border is the life of the party, cleans up after itself and never disrespects her. The border's father didn't show up. The border's father is drunk at a bar in the afternoon, trying to forget, trying to figure out ways to build a sanctuary around its chest, trying to understand its child tonight. It'd go home to its own checkpoint, the one in its chest. It'll wake its border out of its rest, make it dance, tell the border's father. It'll say, do that trick I taught you. Make everyone disappear, make everyone feel so unseen that they vanish from our sight. The border knows many magic tricks. Many scams. Its parents were grifters and swindlers. The border wants to be something more, something different, but it's that same old impasse, and it doesn't change or know if it even can. So its sunrise and its sunset become its own children, and it watches them dance for a secret hour every day. Thank you. Thanks, y'all. So, man, I have so many things I want to tell y'all. There's so much stuff to talk about, but I want to be respectful of my time. I want to be respectful of my time up here, And please, once again, give a round of applause for everybody who's made this event happen. There's been tech homies in the back working since like 6 o'clock last night. They've just been locked in here. I teach poetry in detention facilities, juvenile facilities, prisons, all around Los Angeles. Thank you. I say that to say I really make it a point to talk about what happens in this city. Los Angeles is one of the places in the country that incarcerates more young people than almost anywhere else in the country. It's a big business. Have you paid your taxes yet? It's coming up. Well, a good portion of your taxes go to keeping these young people incarcerated. There's something called a recidivism rate. That means you go in and how likely you are to come back. In this city, it's 99% for a young person. These are all Googleable facts, by the way. 99%, right? That means if a young person is locked up at 13, they're more likely to stay within that system until they're 19, 18. And again, I work with these young people all the time, right? This city's paying somewhere around the range of $500 million a year of your money to incarcerate young people, which somehow are only black and brown people in the city. It's wild. It's wild how that works. And so I want to talk about this, right? Because again, like so many things that are perpetuated within the neighborhoods we grow up in, whether it's post-traumatic stress disorder, whether it's redlining, whether it's food deserts, whether it's the school to prison pipeline, we often think like these structures are broken, they need to be fixed, and they're not broken. They're literally doing exactly what they were made to do. And so where do we all fit in, right? How can we do things? Well, we can do a lot of things with where we put our money, right? With who we vote for, who we vote in, how we show up in our communities. And it can even be as simple as finding an artist here in the city and making sure that you love their work, that you follow their journey. Just let them feed you with their joy, with their craft, right? Support them in what they do. With that being said, I am selling a couple books tonight, but that's not what I was here for. But I do want to say that that I think we all got work to do, and I'm doing my best to do mine. Thanks. So I wrote this poem for my boys. It's my last poem, and you want to hear it? Yeah. Okay, here we go. I'm from the South. I'm sorry. I escaped. I got away. So last week, two of my favorite students wrapped their knuckles around each other. Now in class, when we're aggravated or upset, we do push-ups or we listen to really cool beats. The other day, on my sign-in sheet, in the comment section usually reserved for the principal, one of my boys wrote, "Great day," and it was the best part of my day. Now at the Challenger Memorial Juvenile Detention Center, a youth prison named after a space shuttle that exploded, a failed mission. There's a dog pound at the front gates. You can hear whining and barking as your tires roll through gravel. In the yard, you can see the lights from the state penitentiary directly behind. Most of my boys joke and say that this will be their next step, but in my class, I show them poems. Always my favorite and always the powerful. I tell them there is a future in words. I show them my past, the dirt I crawled through, the voice I stumbled on, the same voice we can find searching the right conversations. We talk of memories, acknowledge and agree that we are the sum of what we remember. Now their growth is my process, and I love to watch them blossom. Each poem, a petal forcing its way from a bud, a little more assured each time, each step, a little more confident than the last. I don't just try to teach poetry to kids, I try to teach them how to walk in their own skin. I try to teach them how to own their skin when they walk sometimes. I stand in front of a classroom and my students look like abandoned homes in the neighborhood the city has forgotten. I give them notebooks, I give them tool belts, and talk them into believing that anyone can be a carpenter. I say these words are nails, these poems are houses. Build it carefully because someone might need to live here. I look them in the eyes and say the sentences you need to focus on do not end with a gavel, they end with a period. Let me show you how to make them with your own hands. Your story is important, so write it down, and they do. Some laugh, some cry. I say it's okay. Our emotions are like lightning bugs, and if we keep them bottled, they will die. And a person who doesn't feel is just a photograph, and you are worth so much more than 1,000 words. You are an ocean of confessions begging for an out. There is a key in your every syllable. The right combination can unlock dreams. I tell them to dream, then edits. I tell them a rough draft is one of the rare times in life you actually get a do-over. I tell them to wrap themselves in their stories. Don't get wrapped up in money, because then you'll become a hater, and haters get halitosis, and that's chronic bad breath. I tell them I don't know why, but it feels true. I tell them to feel for their own truth, like a switch when engulfed in all life's dark, that this universe loves honesty. So don't hold your tongue or your punches, that the process is my growth, and the only time I don't feel guilty prostituting my emotions for strangers, I tell them everything someone told me once. You can be great. Each poem, a petal forcing its way from a bud, a little more assured each time, each step, a little more confident than the last. I tell them I love them, because most of the time, they never hear that. I tell them no matter what society has shown them, no matter what their judge has told them, that they are not a failed mission. To me. Thank y'all so much.
Oh my gosh, okay, that was just, can we give them another round, please? Yeah. I'm so incredibly grateful. And I have something to say. My name is Shonda Buchanan. I forgot to say that. I was so just happy to see you all that I forgot. I heard my mommy say from Michigan, tell them who you are. So I am Shonda Buchanan, and I am so grateful to these two poets, and I'm bringing up Jessica Kim to close the poetry part, and then we'll have a Q&A afterwards. Jessica.
Happy National Poetry Month, y'all. I started writing around this time 3 years ago, and this art form has brought me so much joy, so much more than I can express in words. Today, I'm really honored to be here to spread joy, but also I want to honor the space that we've been provided to honor the Kentridge exhibition, but also work with musicians, with visual artists to collaborate on art. Today, I'll be reading a poem that I have actually never performed in front of anyone. But before I start reading the poem, I'd like to mention that it alludes to death, violence, and hate crimes targeted towards Asian Americans. Diptych for woman I want undead. 1. Destruction. In remembrance of Michelle Go. Her body does not remember the fall, only the wreckage. I watch America devour woman after woman after woman, sending shock waves through a city birthed from violence, a city clutching the remains of bullets, revolutions, my Omma's hands sculpted from Korean soil and traded for broken prairie dreams. In America, a man declares himself God after pushing a woman to her death, mistaking destruction for creation, her body tattered like discarded newspapers on the floors of subway stations, their headlines discolored by tragedy. The rarest thing America owns is an apology. I have heard my country fight, shout, shoot, but seldom repent. When a woman is found lifeless, my country discards her body as prey to an oncoming train, erasing her yellowed womanhood. The reporters say this is not a hate crime against Asian Americans, and everyone believes it, obliterating America from the crime scene. In America, I disremember my lineage by quieting myself back into Omma's womb. In 2003, Omma and Appa left Korea for America, and even as a fetus, I could feel the tension. At 5, Omma changed my name to Jessica because it was more American. At 10, my country suffocated Omma and deported the women in our family back to Korea. At 15, we returned to Los Angeles to find the city train-wrecked, its pandemic heart in dislocation, quietly knocking my body down, gawking at how easy it is for Asian American women to falter. Now, the body dissolved, the trauma plasticized onto television screens. At Times Square, a woman's face flickers on the billboards, and it's not the usual image of a Broadway star, but a face that resembles my Omma's, a face hardest to forget. 2, delusion. In remembrance of Christina Yunali. Every day, she disremembers the safety of her own home, the softness of inhabiting a city too cruel to love its women. I witness the city devour her whole after fracturing her body to pieces. First, a man following her onto her own home, his silence the worst translator of death. Then, a flick of his yellow-handled knife, leaving the body bleeding in the bathtub, rivers of history diffusing into nothingness. How can America demand stories from a Korean woman whose lineage dies off with her bloodshed? I replay the body camera footage to find the suspect cosplaying the victim, impersonating a woman's voice, playing hide and seek under her bed. Nightly, Omma begs me to return home earlier, wary of repeating the same tragedy. I feel most unsafe in my homeland, in my body, the irony of this inhabitants. Every time I pass by a subway station or a massage parlor, I see mirages of the shootings of Michelle Go, of Christina Yunali, their bodies spilled like bloodlines. How can I stay strong when my women are falling? America will never run out of bodies to fill with violence. Asian women will never run out of bodies to fill with lore. And so I stomach myself with poems that memorize every story, disfigured by a red death, my hands unearthing, commemorating, and writing what has always been. Thank you. Thank you so much. much for your support. It feels a little foreign, like seeing so many people and like hearing applause, but I think poetry every day, but especially today, the first day of National Poetry Month, it deserves to be celebrated, and I'm really honored to be here among very incredible, very deserving poets. My next poem is titled Guzzle for K. Last summer, Harmony moved to California, bone-dried and thinned like seaweed on the kitchen counter. She asks why I have not thinned, fattened instead like a whale ready for slaughter, and blames the grease on American food. I want to tell her I am not American. Hunger thinned into the back of my tongue and unreceptive to the stench of modernity. The only word I remember in Korean is 시장, hunger. Oceans thinned by extinction, a harbor split by upturned boats, famine kneeling in front of our bruised mouths. Harmony says 시장 also means market, thinned aisles of canned tuna and fake kimchi, the commodities of my past I want forgotten. What remains of my weekly allowance, I squander on thinned cityscape portraits and white pearl necklaces. Maybe this is why Harmony mistakes me for an American girl, future Hollywood star, foolish, thinned with dreams about dead origin stories. Yesterday, it was about a father aspiring to be a mayor, also 시장. Today, it turns into an elegy for my father, thinned white hairs as trench lines in warfare. Harmony reminds me of the Korean wars I have not lived through, dynasties wrecked by bullets, history thinned inside the barrel of a rifle. The summer before my father's death, Harmony swapped his body with an aircraft, propelled it towards the Pacific thinned waves, escaping westward. Midway, shipwrecks invaded his body, so I learned to spill his ashes into Californian seabeds before I had ever known the thinned calluses of his hands. This summer, Harmony moves back to Korea, says loss is too foreign for her. Alone, I unlearn 전쟁, war, the memories thinning. Thank you. Thank you again once for your support, and I'm really excited to have Matthew and my other Jessica join us for a talk later, so I'll see you soon. Thank you.
So we have to give her another round of applause, please. It's amazing. So I was telling one of my girlfriends that I'm going to adopt Jessica, adopt her. So I would like to bring the three poets up to the stage so we can have a Q&A. So yes. Yes, Darren. Oh, right. Thank you. Thank you. Well, and we'll pass the mic, yeah.
No, everyone has one.
Oh, everyone has a mic?
Yeah, yeah.
I have a lavalier.
Let's turn it off.
Okay, all right. So we'll pass if someone doesn't have it.
Testing, testing, testing. Wow, can someone take a picture and send it to our Instagrams and our Facebooks and everything? Yeah, I mean, this is a momentous occasion for me. This is part 2 of, I sent a paragraph to Darren about, it was from a critical race theory panel that I wanted to do here. And he said, we've got William Kentridge coming. Why don't we apply this to something creative and you curate? And I said, okay, let's do that, because his work, I didn't even know his work, but what Darren told me was that William Kentridge is the son of the lawyers who got Nelson Mandela out of prison, and then also they got other ANC people out of prison. And when he said that, I was like, oh, I need to come and support and see this exhibit. And then the poets that I chose were specifically from their work that I saw over the last couple of years. I said, no, we need this group of people, and then we had an amazing group in the last event. So I'm incredibly grateful. Again, I'm Shonda Buchanan. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook. I love what Matt was saying about if you decide you would like to purchase any of our materials, you can find them on our websites or anything along those lines. So thank you very much. So I'm just going to ask a question of each of the poets, and if you have a question, just raise your hand as well, and we'll get the mic to you. But I really want to ask you all how you use your work as resistance against whatever it is we're resisting. But how do you use your work as that? How do you articulate it? And if there's something that you can point to in which you read tonight, please do so.
Okay, thank you, Shonda. And again, thank you to the Broad and Shonda for inviting me here and everybody here. I'm just like looking at everybody, I'm like, oh my God, hi. Y'all look beautiful. So, activism, the lens of activism. Our voices are power. That's what I feel. We all have a voice. And when I want to speak up or I want to share truth, it's always something that I've either encountered or I'll hear stories of others, just what they've bearing witness to, and I see these patterns over and over again, and I start to get, I get very angry. I'm like inside, I'm like, so I guess that anger, that urgency to want to speak up, to want to share truth, put light on it, no matter how painful it might be, it's still true, and it's happening to, it's happening to a few people, it's happening to many more, lots and lots of people. And through poetry and our arts, I find when we put something out there, it allows others to connect with us. So you see you're not alone, you find folks that are like-minded, but also in putting out your work, others that you don't even know connect to it. It might heal them, it might help them, it just might help raise the issue that's been a pain to their life for so long, and that connectedness is what's important. And then when I write, I like to kind of go in a spot in my mind and just kind of like putting myself in that situation or putting myself next to the person whose story I heard and literally like transporting myself to that scenario. And for me, it's like I embody that time in that moment and I try to capture it, with the details of what's happening, what do I hear, what do I smell, what do I see, what am I feeling, like all that. And that, basically I recreate that experience and put it on the paper. And thank you, yeah. It's all about activism, just sharing truth.
Love that, thank you, Jess. Surrounded by the Jessicas over here, this is great. For me, I often think of like, there's like a saying where like, you can totally like build a chair with your bare hands. Like you don't need to you don't need tools, right? You can figure it out. It'll be hard, it might take forever, but you can do it. But if someone gives you, a hammer, it can make, that process that much easier, right? For me, the chair is living, is being alive. And the hammer is the poetry, right? I think you don't need poetry to live, right? There's a quote that says, poetry does nothing to show us how to live, but it does show us why we live. And I think, oftentimes no one goes searching, in the average person's life, no one goes searching for poetry. Listen to this brilliant person, Ethan Hawke talked about this in Tech Talk, right? He's like, we don't go looking for it until something tremendous happens in your life. You lose your job, your lover breaks up with you, someone passes away, the pandemic, right? Things happen where you have no words for it, right? Or how to articulate it, or the inverse happens. You fall in love, right? You have a child, something amazing happens. That's when, as a human experience, we search for poetry. We're like, has anybody ever felt this way? Has anybody ever navigated these thoughts? To me, this is the art of getting to know yourself for a living, or at least that's what it's been for me. And I've really tried to understand all of this mess through my own writing. I grew up looking like this in Jacksonville, Florida. So people didn't really know what I was. So people were telling me what I was. I was Filipino for like 3 months in second grade. It was dope. I had all these facts they were giving me. And I tell my mom, I was like, we Filipino. She's like, not a tribe. What are you talking about? But I think often I try to write for young people that come from environments that I came from, right? I grew up in a pretty rough place, right? Was able to have poetry take me around the world. I think it's a beautiful gift that I think, as someone who's been given this gift, I feel an obligation to give it to the entire world. I think every single person has a story to tell. Each one of you are poets. You're not just here enjoying this. You actually have a story to tell. You're living upon the shoulders of ancestors who brought you to this place right now, right? For me, that comes with an obligation, right? My mother passed on, right? Incredible people. The end of last year, I lost my sister, Tanya Ingram. She's an incredible poet, incredible writer, right? These are things I feel obligated to continue to tell these stories, obligated to talk about the indigenous practices of this land, to talk about how we're on Tonva and the Chumash land right now. That's the land we're on, right? To talk about these things, to bring that into this space. I think poetry is for all that, right? And it's for everybody, right? I'm always telling people, like, Irish culture is dope, man. Be Irish, right? You know what I'm saying? Or whatever it is, right? Be whatever you want to be, right? Doesn't be this. But I really think it's a way to the root of it. This whole living thing, I don't know if you've been doing it lately, but it's a mess, man. You just wake up sad one day, like nothing happened. You just had a bad dream and your whole day is ruined, right? It's wild. But I really feel like navigating, really, like if the world could sit and write their thoughts, like you probably wouldn't be such a jerk anymore. So I'm trying to spread this doctrine everywhere I can go.
Thank you.
So for me, I think I was in this interview. It was my first one about poetry, and they asked me, tell me one thing about your poems. And I was very nervous because I was in this interview and I didn't know what to say, but I ended up saying, I write to revolutionize, and that kind of made the headline of the interview, right? And I think since then, I've kind of been living by the idea of revolution, and a lot of my poems talk about destruction in a way. I think a lot of my poems honor Korea's history and America's history in relation to Asian Americanism. So for me, Korea is this place with historic roots in devastation, in struggle, in destruction, and I try to elegize those topics. But in doing so, I think I am creating something. Like poetry is the art really of creation. And I believe that through poetry, through writing, I am creating something that has never existed. And I think being a poet who is revolutionizing the world, that means I am creating something new, something that really the world has not seen yet, and that combined with history and tradition, that kind of dichotomy, I guess, would result in something explosive in the best way possible. And I think that is what revolution and that is what resistance means to me.
I love that. Yes. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm going to open it up to the audience. We only have 5 more minutes for the Q&A. Is there anyone who has a question for anyone? Yes, I see 2, 1, and 2. So should I bring a can I bring the microphone to them? I will do that. I can do that.
Hi, my name is Andrea Thomas. I am a poet myself, and I would like to know, what was your hardest poem to write thus far as structure and as far as sentence?
Well, all I'm thinking is a lot of times I'm a stream of consciousness writer, so when I have a form I have to follow, sometimes that's the hardest poem. Yeah. And I feel sometimes it's forced. But as far as the topic, yeah, I'd say honestly that the hardest thing for me to write about is the truth of right now little boys and girls locked in cages at our borders. It literally breaks my heart, and like talking about it for me isn't enough. I want to open that cage and let them out. That's what I really want to do, and see them back to their lives, you know. But that is definitely one of the hardest things to write about for me to write about.
Yeah, I think as a writer, you tend to want to be like, how can we voice to the voiceless, right? The world is full of many of that right now. For me, a lot of my work has been navigating, again, like my whole process and whatever it is. So one of the hardest things I've had to do is to write through my depression, right through my grief of losing my mother, of losing a sister, of losing many students. And, you know, contrapuntals are really difficult if you're looking for a form. They're fun to say. But I think, yeah, the most difficult poem was, and continues to be, because it's a process that I don't think I'll ever finish writing that poem, even if I write 100 poems of that, is just to bring legacy to my mother, to my family, to people who I've lost.
To me, a poem is a building and a piece of architecture. In Italian, I think the word stanza means room, so I kind of think of a form of a poem as really like the foundation of it. So I write actually a lot of form poetry. I read a ghazal, I've written sonnets, Abecedarians, golden shovels, like you name it. I love form poetry, but I realized I was going through a time of grief, of sadness, of reflection, and in those moments, which was a very difficult time, it was actually free verse that was the most difficult. Like I felt like writing kind of stream of conscious free verse that made me lose this sense of certainty and this sense of structure. So I'd say this emotion mixed with, I guess, the lack of a form, that's actually pretty difficult for me, rather than by like abiding to a room, a stanza, a piece of architecture. So yeah, it's actually like free form. That's pretty hard.
I love that. This is beautiful. Thank you so much. Yes. For me, the hardest poetry to write is when I'm looking at for me, because I call my identity African American, American Indian. And so when I am writing poetry about the African enslavement diaspora experience, combined with the Indian experience of over 500 years of resistance in this country, so starting from the 1500s up until, you know, now, I guess that's more than 500 years. But when I'm looking at that fight and how long the fight has been happening, and there are moments that I cry in every poem. I'm just like, good grief, you know, this is still happening. I'm in 2023, and I'm still talking about the 1505 insurrection in Hispaniola. You know what I mean? So like when I'm looking at history and bringing other stories to life, that's incredibly hard for me. Poetry forms, the sestina is a hard poetry form, but it's beautiful, and the obad is another beautiful poetry form for you as well. Darren gave me the sign of like it's complete, so I apologize, but you can speak to the poets afterwards. And can we give them a round of applause, please? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you.
I feel so lucky to be in such great company. Thank you for bringing this all to us, Shonda. Thank you for introducing me to these amazing poets. Thank you, all of you, for tackling the subject matter and engaging with us in the way that you have, with this institution, with artworks that we show here, with the programming that we do. You've enriched it, and we are very grateful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to our interpreters. My name is Darren Klein. I'm the Associate Director of Events and Programs here at the museum. Woo! Tonight, we're only halfway through the night. We have Irreversible Entanglements performing upstairs. The stairs are just around the corner there. If you are not able to take the stairs, find myself or someone else that's wearing a badge dressed all in black, and we will take you up an elevator if you're sticking around for Irreversible Entanglements. And thank you all so much for being here. Woo!